Hey y'all, it's Debbie with Taylor by Debbie, and today I'm going to teach you how to make a pumpkin wreath using the Dollar Tree pumpkin wreath form. Let's see. And 6 rolls of Dollar Tree mesh. They have different ones. They have ones that have this purple label and it's in the Halloween section and it kind of has gold foil running through it. And then they have some in the fall section that has a different color where it says Crafter Square and it has more of a gold running through it instead of orange. But either one will work. You just need 6 rolls, and these are 6 inches by 5 yards. You're also going to need some pipe cleaners, and I just picked up a pack of the gold ones because they kind of coordinate with the orange well. They'll blend in better than like a white or something like that would. You're going to need some zip ties. You're going to need some ribbon. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And the first thing we're going to do is we are going to open one of our rolls of mesh. Okay. All right. Just push that pumpkin out of the way there. You just want to make sure, you know, you unroll it a little bit, and then you want to come down maybe a little over an inch and scrunch it up. Okay. And it's going to look kind of funny, but you can go ahead. I'm going to do it over my trash can, but just cut that off. Okay. Put my trash over here, because all those little pieces are going to go flying. And I'll show you. But you're just going to cut it off so it's kind of straight across. Okay, and then we're going to take a zip tie, or you could use a chenille stem if you want to. I'm going to use a zip tie. And they also sell the zip ties at the Dollar Tree. We're actually going to need 2. Okay. I'm going to need 2 zip ties here. Let's see. I'm trying to get 2 that are fairly the same size. I've got all different sizes. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. All right, we're going to come up here at the top, right here, and we're going to put the mesh on the inside going down. And then we're going to take 1 zip tie and we're going to secure it in here. Excuse me, y'all. We're going to secure it in here going across one way, and then we're going to secure it on the other side of that bar so that the mesh doesn't slide. Because if we only secure it here, you'll see that that mesh can slide back and forth on the frame, and we don't want that. So we're going to come and go across the crossbar, kind of like a figure 8 sort of. I'm going to go across it the opposite direction, and that's going to prevent that mesh from being able to slide either direction. Okay, just cut these off, and that's going to be covered up, so don't worry about the zip tie showing up here. You do want to try to trim off all of the stuff that's sticking up out of that zip tie though, so it doesn't catch on the mesh. Okay, and that one's got a funny little, oh, I see, it's okay. All right, then we're going to take the zip ties and turn them under. You just push them around so that that big bulky part of the zip tie is on the bottom. Okay, we're just going to push it. It takes just a little bit of effort. Just kind of push it down so it's not going to be sitting right here on top. Okay, now that we have that secure, we want to take this first piece of mesh and we want to fold it over that outer rib just like this, and you want to kind of pull it tight, not real tight, but you want to pull it, you know, snug. Okay, and then we're going to take 2 zip ties and cross them over right here just like we just did. And I've got some real small zip ties. I'll use these. I think these are 4-inch. I believe Dollar Tree sells 6-inch, and they're great if you can find them in stock. Mine stays out of stock in them, so I buy them either from Amazon. Sometimes you can get them at Walmart. Well, you can get them at Walmart, But Amazon's usually cheaper than Walmart if you can't find them at the Dollar Tree. Okay, so we just crisscrossed on either side of that bar again. So this piece of mesh. Now if you want to try to pull that tighter, the zip tie, it helps to have a pair of pliers, and you can just take the end of it, kind of hold your thumb down here at the bottom so you're not pulling only against that frame, because that frame could break. I just kind of hold it and pull, and it'll get that zip tie nice and tight. Okay, you can take these zip ties while it's still tied. And let me get that end out of it there. Looks like I did not come across that bar very well there. I think I'm just gonna snip that off right here and put one more on there. Let's see, you know, I think one's gonna hold it because it's so tight, it's not gonna slide this way. So just one zip tie on the, you know, on this side of that crossbar will hold this one. And then you can take it while it's still connected and pull that zip tie down to the bottom. That's a little easier than trying to move it with your finger. Snip that off. Okay, now what we're gonna do, we're gonna take this roll. I usually try to take it and roll it up. You're gonna go over and under and just wrap around this part of the pumpkin, because the curved part is really hard to get mesh to stay on, and this is going to help to give it some coverage in an easy way. Okay, so we're just going to take it and wrap it loosely. Just kind of pull it, wrap it, pull it till you get it on there. That's just helping to cover these end pieces of the pumpkin form, okay? Now this will twist as you're doing this, and just take this roll and kind of untwist it and roll it back up. Okay, like so. All right, now let's roll this back up. Let's see here. Just take and roll your mesh back up. All right, now we're getting toward the top. We're going to go under again. Okay, and then we're going to come through this next row, which is going to secure that mesh, and we're going to wrap it back around one more time in the opposite direction and end up back over here where we started. Okay, so you're just wrapping. And if some of the mesh comes unraveled, and Dollar Tree mesh is really bad to do this, the best thing you can do is just snip it off right here, and then find, you know, the furthest place that it is coming unraveled to, and just snip it right there, and that'll help keep it from unraveling anymore. Okay, all right. It will unravel on the edges, so what you try to do is not let the edges touch the mesh as much as you can, but you do have to go through, so you want to try to keep it rolled up as much as you can as you're doing this, okay? And bring it through, and then kind of pull it tight, roll it over, and pull it tight. Okay, keep that roll together, and then pull it tight until you get it wrapped all the way back up to the top, and that's going to cover the ends of your pumpkin really well. Okay, you see, you can't really see the wire that much now, especially from the front. Okay, so we're going to come back when you get to the top, and we're going to come through that second row again, or between these two pumpkin ribs. Okay, and then you're just going to work until you can pull all of that mesh tight. And you might have to pull it just a little bit, one side to the other. Just pull it as tight as you can get it. It looks like we may need to wrap one more time to get that good and secure right there, so I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna wrap around that one more time. And you see how that pulled that in there so it won't be loose, okay? And then we're gonna come back down through here. And then we're gonna turn the pumpkin frame over. Okay, so now we've got that whole first rib of that pumpkin wrapped. And I'm gonna go ahead and you're gonna cut these pipe cleaners in half, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and put a pipe cleaner. Actually gonna unwrap this, y'all, because I'd like to get it as close to that frame as I can, because that's going to make it be bulky. So learn from me before you actually get down there to that last little turn around this. And let's go ahead and put a zip tie, and I think I'm going to use a full one right here because I think a half one's going to be too short with that bulk right there. Okay, you just want to wrap it there, and this one's not going to go anywhere because we have the mesh, so we're just gonna twist it a few times, and then we will go around that end one more time because we had taken it back off. Okay, pull it tight, and then we'll go back through here one time. And now when you go back through there, you want to make sure you pull it between your two pipe cleaners, okay? You want to pull that just as tight as you can get it, so that'll be just as pretty and neat as you can get it. Okay, and then we're going to take these pipe cleaners right here, get that mesh good and snug, okay, and then you're going to twist. You're going to twist it at least a couple times like that. Okay, now this piece of mesh, we're going to come back up through there, so we're going to go ahead and load this one, and I'm going to use a full pipe cleaner over here too because we have this bulk. On the other ones, I'll try to use one that is not a whole one, but if you do, I mean, they're not expensive. It's no big loss if you have to use a whole one. Okay, we're just going to twist that a couple times, and then you're going to lay them out flat, okay, because you're going to be bringing this mesh up through here, and then you're going to fold it in half. Try to get as much coverage from this piece of mesh as you can. And then you're going to come right here. Okay, and we're going to pull it over on the back side because we want the twist to be back here. We're going to twist a couple of times, lay that back out flat. Fold this in half. Bring it back through. Okay, just get it kind of folded in half. And then we're going to flip this over. Try to bring these pipe cleaners down to the bottom, okay? Because we want the twists to be on the bottom so they won't show from the front of the wreath. Okay, now when you're doing this, you want to make sure you're not pulling so tight that you've pulled the mesh completely off that rib right here, okay? So we need to loosen this one up right here, pull it back through a little bit because we got that so tight it came right off the rib, y'all. Okay, trying to show the things in case it happens. All you have to do is loosen that up a little bit. Then you're going to turn it over. Kind of hold that mesh on that rib with one hand, if you can. Kind of tighten that down loosely. Fold this one in half. Bring it right over here. And just make sure that you've still got that mesh covering that rib. Twist it just a couple times so it doesn't get too bulky. Okay. Just a couple times. And then when you turn it back over, you can kind of straighten that mesh and make sure it is still covering that first rib, okay? Now, you can even take a little bit of hot glue if you want to, and gently just kind of press it together, you know, to hold this on that first rib. It does make it a little bit easier. Now it almost looks like we have this a little bit too loose. So I want to get this first one right, y'all, because it's going to kind of shape the whole pumpkin. So take the time. If you have it too loose or too tight, take the time to go back and loosen or tighten the mesh on the first rib of each row, because that will greatly determine how the rest of it is going to look, okay? All right, so let's undo this one and pull that just a little bit more snug. I've got my hot glue warming up over here. I think that's going to really be a good thing to help you and help me keep the mesh folded in half. And you want to double it because it'll give you better coverage for that rib. Okay, so now I'm going back this way and I want to pull this mesh snug right there. Okay, and it's over that rib. Bring it over, and then we can tighten this down, just twisting it a couple of times. Okay, so now we've got it over this rib and underneath. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and straighten up my mesh like this. Let's see if our hot glue is ready. I think it is. We're just going to take a little bit of hot glue, and I'm actually going to put it right here on the center of this rib, just a little bit. And then I'm going to pull this folded over in half piece of mesh up and just kind of pinch it. And that's going to keep that, both layers, it'll go through both layers right there. It'll keep it from sliding back and forth. I don't think my hot glue's quite hot enough, so I'm going to let it heat up just another second. And then we're going to put a nice little, you know, about an inch long line of glue on that first piece. And let me get my finger protectors, because when it does get hot, it'll burn my finger if I don't. So we can kind of press it down. Some hot glue on my finger protector here. Okay, put that on. Now let's try that again. Just put about an inch or so of glue right there. Pull it up and press it down so that it kind of comes through that first layer. And that's going to hold that mesh on that first rib, okay? Now, you're just going to continue to fold this in half, and it'll fold whichever way it wants to fold. It doesn't matter, just as long as it folds in half. And you're going to go back over that same rib on that pumpkin, okay? So fold it in half, lay it on there, and once you have some mesh on that rib, the wired rib of the pumpkin, it's going to help those other layers that you're laying now to kind of stay better. Okay, it's got some friction against it now. Okay, let's pull this through and make sure we're not pulling this too tight and that we have it going over that rib. Just gonna twist it a couple times, fold it in half, stick it right through here, twist it a couple times. That first one's just a little bit tricky. Remember, as it frays, just trim it off so it won't continue to fray. You see any little pieces of the mesh fraying. Okay, I promise you it's going to look beautiful when we're finished. Okay. All right. So it's coming off down here. So I'm going to go ahead and put glue in 3 places on this first one. We're going to figure this out together, y'all, how to do this the best. Okay, just going to pull that down. We don't want to put glue on every level because it's going to show through if you do, I would think. But to get the initial layer kind of anchored down is really going to help keep these other layers from moving once you get them on here. Okay, so let's pull that second layer over that rib. Okay, and then we're gonna do it again. Just let it fold in half, however it wants to fold. Okay, lay it on top of there. Flip it over, twist it a couple times. Lay it in there, twist it a couple times, pull it over, and we're going to do this until we run out of this roll of mesh, okay? Let's just pull them up over this. Okay. All right. And now what I'm going to do, I want to try to cover, actually I want to try to cover this gap right here. So we're going to go ahead and take a piece of mesh and leave it whole and let it kind of come over that side right there and cover it a little bit. We will be wrapping that more with additional mesh. But for right now, I want to go ahead and just wrap that a little bit. Okay, and we're almost to the end of this roll. Okay, so I'm just going to let this be an open one as well. And you're just going to go as long and far as you can, and I'm just kind of letting this mesh hang over right there a little bit on the last couple times around the pumpkin. You're going to secure this on the back, and y'all, we're not going to cut this mesh, this extra mesh. We're just going to take it. You can cut off any jaggy edges that might be on there, and then we're just going to take this piece and stick it down inside the rolls of mesh, okay? So now we've got the outside done. And again, if you have any little areas of fray, trim it all the way down to where that fray initiated on the pumpkin and then trim it off. Okay, we're gonna leave these zip ties because we're going to use them again, okay? So we're going to leave these zip ties right where they're at on the bottom, and I need to twist this one right here. You want to twist it on both ends to secure your mesh in there. Just a couple times, okay? And then we're gonna leave these pipe cleaners on there, but I'm gonna just kind of put them down so they'll be out of the way as we start our next row. Okay, because the outside part is so difficult to do, we're gonna go ahead and do the end on this side as well, okay? We're gonna do it exactly the same way we did, except this time I'm gonna put my pipe cleaners on first. And now we're going to take 2 more rolls of the mesh and wrap 2 ribs of the pumpkin with each roll of mesh, like we did beginning with the second rib when we were wrapping the ends. So you're just going to continue to wrap all of the mesh until your entire pumpkin is covered. Okay, so now we have the majority of the pumpkin frame covered. And now we're going to wrap the pumpkin frame with our last 2 rolls of mesh. All right, we're going to come over here way on the edge. I'm going to twist in and tuck in this piece of mesh. We're just going to stick it up under there. Okay, twist it at least a couple times. Get in there. All right, now you're going to take this mesh, and each time you go across on the outside, you definitely want to secure it in, because if not, it's going to slide off the edge of your pumpkin. Okay. There will be some wraps in the middle where you will not have to secure it every single time, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, but when you're on the edge like that, you definitely want to secure it. And we're going to kind of wrap between this part. You just want to feel this, the space between here and here is going to be the hardest one to fill. Just go ahead and start wrapping it around your pumpkin. And every other time, you're going to put it in a zip tie. And once you wrap from that first outer edge to the center of your pumpkin, you're going to do the same thing on the other side with your last roll of mesh. Now, I'm going to show you what we're going to do for the stem next, okay? I use leftover pieces of 10-inch mesh rolls, and I'm going to use zip ties this time to secure it on there. All right. And I just take a piece, usually approximately 24 inches. Okay. I kind of know what 24 inches looks like, so I don't even have to measure it. But you're going to take about 24 inches of mesh, and I save my scrap pieces of mesh, especially these neutral ones, for things like this. Roll it in on each side so those edges of the mesh are going to be tucked in there and they won't fray. Okay, and then you're just going to scrunch up the middle. Okay, and we've made a cruffle. which is a combination curl and ruffle. We use these on our deomesh wreaths. And then I'm going to take that cruffle and I'm going to fold it in half like this. And this is going to be our pumpkin stem. Okay, then we're just going to take a couple of zip ties, because you can really pull a zip tie tightly. You can also use twine. I've also used twine to secure these, but I like to use a zip tie and a pair of pliers, because you can really pull it tight. Okay, and then I'm going to snip that off, and I'm going to also secure one more here toward the bottom. Whoops. Okay. Spread them out just a little bit. Squish it down. All right. And this is kind of my whimsical stem for my pumpkin. All right, then I'm going to put my stem, I like to put it more times than not, I'll put it on the front of the pumpkin like this, so that the back of the pumpkin will lay nice and flat up against the door. Okay, I'm going to take this, and I'm first going to just put one zip tie. Now you have to be careful when you're securing zip ties to this stem, because you don't want to pull it so tight that you break, because this stem will bend. So you want to pull it tightly, but you don't want to pull it so tight that you make the stem metal bend on this frame. Okay, so we've got that on there snugly, but it still has a little bit of give in it. Okay, so I'm gonna get that as tight as I can get it, and then we'll snip it off. And I'm going to take one more zip tie. Okay. This time, I'm going to come underneath the bar on that side. Oops, I had it upside down. You always have to have that zip tie flat end up. Okay, so I'm going to pull it tightly now to this side. That one bar. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing going the opposite direction. And that's going to get that stem super, super tight and snug. Okay, now I'm going to go through here with my zip tie. So it's only going to secure it to this side. Okay. And I want to come kind of down, because if not, it's just going to slide right off the top. So you want to pull it down kind of low before you snug it down. And trim that off. Okay, now that should be good and secure. Now is a good time to go ahead and make a hanger for the back. Okay, so I'm just going to use this part of the stem. There's lots of different ways you can do it. I actually think I want to come down here where the frame is, right here. Just get that pipe cleaner in there, twist, twist, twist. Okay, there's lots of different ways to make a hanger. Today I'm just going to do it this way. Right, then I want to come on the other side of this piece of mesh and go under that frame on the other side of the stem over here. Okay, so we're going just on the other side of the stem down to the top of the frame and putting our pipe cleaner in there. Being careful to try not to pull any pieces of mesh. And it looks like it's gotten hung up on one here. There we go. So just pull it however big you want your little hanger to be. I don't make them huge. And then I'm just going to twist this up several times. And these are not heavy wreaths, so you don't need to double. Okay, let's stick that pipe cleaner back down in there. You don't need to double the pipe cleaner. Just a single pipe cleaner will hold this wreath up. Okay. There's your hanger. All right, now we're going to make our bow. I feel like I need to pull this up a little bit more. Let me see if I can. That's why it's such a good idea, guys, to leave some pipe cleaner, because you may want to tuck in some of the mesh to hold it on, or bring up a poofy spot. It is a little bit challenging to find your ends, but eventually if you keep working with it, you'll be able to separate them. Sometimes you can just untwist. Let's see, there's an end right there. There we go. I think I got it. A little bit challenging. All those little gold things are falling off the pipe cleaner, but we don't need them, so it doesn't matter. I would like to pull this in here, so I'm going to stick with it. There we go. I think I got it. Sometimes it just takes a minute. Ooh, it got me. It got me. It got me. Cut that off because there's like a little jaggy end sticking off. Okay, so I'm down here, and I want to pull that little piece of mesh up to keep it from sliding off the end of my pumpkin here. Okay. Take that and just tuck it back down into that wreath. Okay, now I'm happy with that. Okay, let's make our bow. I'm going to use these two ribbons. I got just a burlap, and I have this all, you know, all-purpose fall wreath ribbon that I love to use. Okay, I'm going to put my burlap on first. I always like to have my patterned ribbon on the top if I'm going to make a double ribbon bow. I do have a bow making video on my YouTube channel. You can go back and watch how to make a 2-ribbon bow. And I also have a single ribbon bow, 10-loop bow. So you can go back and watch how I make my bows step by step. Okay. Now, we're going to go ahead and break the bow a little bit. I'm just going to pull my tails down. When you have that tight in the middle, you can yank and yank on this, y'all, and it's not going to come apart. Got to figure out the best avenue. I think it's going to be to come under here for my other tails on this one. Okay. And then I'm going to secure it onto the middle of my stem, making sure I don't put my wreath hanger. Okay. Now you can also just take these and loop them together and make a hanger as well. But we already have one on this wreath. So I'm just going to trim that off. Okay, and we're just going to tuck that over here to the side, up under there. Okay, now to finish breaking the bow, first thing I like to do, depending on how you pull your tails down, it may make your tails a little bit shorter on one than the other. So I do like to go, and you have to be careful because this ribbon will catch on your mesh sometimes too. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut these off to be somewhat even. Okay, and I'm going to dovetail, and I teach you how to dovetail in my ribbon video. But you're basically just folding it in half and cutting from the folded edge to your open edge. And you want to make sure you cut it at the same, you know, approximately the same angle, and you cut the same amount of ribbon off in your little cut there. See, that one is just a little bit less angled than that last one, so I just come back and cut it a little bit more if that happens. Okay, so we've got our dovetails done. Now I like to pull the ribbons, every other one, just spreads that pattern out, makes it look pretty. Okay, and then on the ribbon, I like to break it from the bottom layer up. So I'm just going to pull these tails down for now and get them out of the way, and then I'll spread them back out at the end. I'm going to fold up the 4 layers that are on top, and I'm going to break the bow from the bottom up. I'm going to pull burlap down and pumpkin up on this side. So over here I'm going to do the opposite. I'll pull pumpkin down and burlap up. Okay, and you're going to continue to do that. So here I'm going to pull pumpkin over first and burlap this way. Okay, and then what you'll want to do is you'll want to kind of spread them out, so you have burlap, pumpkin, burlap, pumpkin. Okay, and do the same thing over here. Since we pulled pumpkin down on this side first, we're going to pull pumpkin up on this second layer and the burlap down. And then you're going to do the same thing. Try to make sure you kind of have it evenly spaced with burlap, pumpkin. Then you just kind of round those loops. Okay. And then this one, I'm going to pull pumpkin this way. You just want to do opposite. Whatever you do on that one, do the opposite on this one. Okay. And then you just want to round your loops. Round out your loops, y'all. That's all there is to it. And I'll do the final shaping always on my bows when I hang them up either on the door or out on my fence. So I just kind of get the general shaping of it right now, and then I'll do the final fluffing when I get it hung up. But I just wanted y'all to kind of see how I pull it apart. And then I do take these tails, again being careful, because the edges of the ribbon will catch on the mesh. So pull it up away from your mesh when you're spreading out your tails. Pull those tails down underneath those loops. Spread them out. Okay, and then when you get it hung up, you can do the final fluffing. Now you can add greenery to the top if you want to, but on this wreath, I thought it was pretty just with the pumpkin and the ribbon. I just think it makes a beautiful statement. The star of the show on this one is the beautiful orange mesh, and of course the beautiful bow. So I hope you give it a try. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure you subscribe to my channel and click the bell so you'll always be notified when I put up new videos. Sometimes I put out extra videos, and if you're not subscribing, you may not know about it. If you give this a try, please tag me in a photo because I would love to see how yours comes out. Again, until next time, y'all have a blessed day. Bye, y'all.